a big pleasure and an honor to be here in this audience. I will try to give you some insights about how we are addressing this challenge, mainly from the lessons learned in the last years in which we have been addressing this challenge from our center. So, so there is no need to work on to talk about the background, because the background is clear for all of you, so we will skip this part. This is not the first time that I'm saying that, but as we are claiming that the research entities must understand the dynamics of the agri-food sector, so from the research entities we also claim that it's important to understand how our landscape works. So we are demanded to have a lot of publications, a lot of citations, a lot of journal impact, because this is how our professional career is being developed. There is not other metrics currently. So, and this is something that you also need to consider. It's important to work on that field, because otherwise it's difficult to convince researchers to move from what we are assessed to something else that maybe have a lot of impact, but is not having impact in our career. Normally, this is changing, it's true. So we have the quota, we have the DORA declaration, we have many things, but many of the times are based on how to define a social impact narrative from research projects once the projects are already finished. So after the project execution, so that means that I have not considered that when I was planning the solution or when I was implementing the project. Once the results are delivered, then I'm trying to have a narrative about how these results have had some impact on from the social side, right? So this is something that, this is the big challenge. This is the paradigm that we need to change, and we have many opportunities to do that. So once we have the project finished, we have some alternatives. Some of them are already being discussed here, and we are very much in favor of all these actions that are being developed, because we are developing complementary funding instruments in order to upscale the results, to increase the adoption, to work on the market needs, on the consumer acceptance, all of that. It is true, and this is fantastic because it's helping to increase the impact of that results once the project is already executed. Or we are also working on the implementation of capitalization projects, such as the thematic networks of operational groups, on all these kind of projects that are taking the results of the innovation projects and trying to increase the adoption, capitalizing the results, or doing the mainstreaming to policymakers on somehow. But the projects, as it has been mentioned before, are already finished. So the capacity that you have to change anything is zero, almost, from what has been delivered, right? But again, we are very much in favor of that, and we need to continue improving all the systems, right? So this is because we are using these instruments a lot. So we are currently coordinating 2 thematic networks at EU level, capitalizing the results, so increasing the impact of results of operational groups in the nutrient recovery and in water management, but also we are coordinating 4 capitalization projects at regional level doing the same, trying to have a real impact on the territories in Catalonia that are complementary. So we are very much in favor of that because we believe that it has a lot of sense to work on that, but it's not enough. I'm taking the advantage to explain to you that if you have time, I recommend you to enter in the webpage of AquaGreenOw, because we have launched a call for ambassadors in countries in which we don't have operational groups represented. So we are looking for ambassadors in order to transfer the knowledge and increase the adoption in that regions or countries. So if you have time, it will be fantastic if you can have a look on that. But going again to the presentation, so we don't need to focus also in the other steps of the research development. So we have the after, once the results are being delivered or being obtained, but we have a lot to do during the implementation stage, in the stage in which we are working in the implementation of this research or innovation project, right? But also in the previous steps. So what is the value proposition that we are doing, how we are identifying the challenge, and how we are proposing the innovative solution. So these are the 3 steps that we are considering. Many of the efforts are in the after, some of them are during, none of them is in the previous. And I'm going to develop all that. So during, what we are doing during, so this is something that we have been discussed and many times also during this day. So we are, and many of the projects that are here represented giving support to AKIS are focus on that, how to involve the multi-stakeholder, how to consider social science and humanities, how to engage multiplying entities, how to consider the life cycle assessment, life cycle costing, the social impact, how to consider actions to go beyond the project implementation. We have the long-lasting repositories now implemented, such as the EU Farbook, and also we are working on community of practice. And this is fantastic, and this is being implemented during the project execution, and this is clear, a great advantage, and we need to still keep improving all that instruments. So it's fantastic, right? What's happening that during the project, we are finding some issues that we do not expect, and what's happening in the sense that the funding instruments are super strict and non-flexible. That means that you have a train, you have the rail, and you can just follow until the next station, that's all. We are advocating for having sails, to be sailing, so to go to that port that are really providing another impact to the project. Not that was foreseen 5 years ago with a total different geopolitical scenario, for example, right? So we think that the funding instruments must be sails, not trains. That's why we need this. I have a lot of hope in the FP10, because we need adaptive and flexible research and innovation funding programs, especially for our sector, right? So this is what we are advocating for. But let's focus in the stage that I think that is or underestimated, that is the previous, because it's where the challenge is identified, is when you can really involve and engage the end users, and the end users are not always the farmers, and you need to consider the whole value chain. I will develop this idea as well, but it's where you have a lot of potential still that has not been covered. And I'm going to talk about that. And there are a lot of signs, I'm not going to go deeper on that publication, but there are a lot of signs of a lack of alignment and value propositions to a sector. I mean, so we have the ecosystem solution, the research innovation ecosystem solution, such as we are a university. We have our possible solution to the challenge that is guided by the research dynamics. We have the public administration with a lot of pressure, with their own policy agenda, so they are imagining their own solution, and then we have the private sector, or the farmers, that they have a market approach and the consumer's approach. What's happening that for the same challenge, we have 3 different approaches, and they are not converging, and this is happening a lot of time. Then a research center goes, makes a fantastic proposal with a fantastic research project, it is funded, but it's not really aligned with what the market needs, because we have not considered the value chain. We have just considered what we know from the sector, that is few, what we know from the sector, right? We are advocating for promoting these converged solutions in which we have a balance between what is known from the research point of view, what is required by the policymakers, and what is needed by the farmers, by the market approach, right? And this means to move from the strategic theoretical model of research and innovation ecosystems that is aiming to have interaction between actors and have this it's fantastic, it's a theoretical approach, but then what we have is a lack of alignment at mid and long term, and we have a lack of value proposition to the private sector. That means that it's not being adopted. It's very much difficult to adopt something that is not responding to the real value proposition that you are expecting, or you are not able to explain with a value proposition point of view something to the farmers. It is like we are talking different languages. And I put you an example from 1 month ago. This morning when I was having breakfast with Inge, I explained that I will explain this real situation. But it was at the beginning of September. We are coordinating a project that is it's an Horizon Europe project that its main objective is to develop methodologies to quantify the food loss in the primary sector, quantify food loss, identify what are the reasons because of the food loss is produced, and then propose some mitigation alternatives from the policy point of view. And we are just at the middle of project implementation. It's 4 years project. We have already spent 2 years, and we have a meeting with policymakers and researchers to talk about what are the results that we have on the table and how to take decisions. We have a protocol, a normalized protocol under an ISO that has been produced to quantify the food loss in different sectors, so in the stone fruit, in meat, in fisheries, in crops, in tubercles, different. So we have a fantastic protocol. And we were discussing how to use that. And the policymakers said, well, this is fantastic. Now we have the tool to apply the farmers to quantify the food loss. And the group of researchers said, yeah, that's fantastic because then it will be much more competitive sector and much more productivity. I said, no, No, you don't have a market approach. To have less food loss, that means that you have more products to be put on the market with a less appreciation cost by the consumers. So that means that most probably the farmers will not cover the production costs, and it will fail. So because you are not able, we are not able to go to a real value proposition for the farmers. It's a value proposition for a policy point of view, from a research point of view. It's fantastic because we have a thin standard protocol that has been accepted. So it's fantastic, but it's not a value proposition. And it's because we have not considered strong enough farmers at the beginning of the definition of the solution that we are proposing. So this is something that should be considered for the future. Then this is a summary. This is a summary, and I'm not going to be deeper on that, but is to move from this strategic theoretical model in which the RDI ecosystem knows everything and is working about interaction between actors. So we are looking for research excellence, policy relevance, social and environmental impact, collaboration and co-creation, and public value. This is true, but we need to integrate as well with business competitiveness, with market adoption, with economic sustainability, with disruption and scaling, and with market value and consumer acceptance. And that means, in summary, to consider the whole value chain, not just the farmer, right? And how we can work on that is to change the way in which we are designing the impact. So it's to move from an ex-post impact strategy, that is what we are we have accepted, this is how normal it is, to move to an ex-ante impact. That means that designing the impact before it happens, and this is the real strength. But design this impact with a clear interaction and knowledge about the whole value chain, the market needs, and about this big and wide vision of the picture. And the key question is how to design this impact, right? So now it's fantastic. We have the challenge, but how we are designing this impact. I mean, we can achieve that if we are able to talk with the same language, scientists, policymakers, and researchers, and be absolutely aligned and find this converged solution. Because otherwise, it's not going to be possible, and I'm going to go deeper on that. Because this is what we are doing in our center. So in the Beta Tech Center, we have 8 thematic teams that are working on 8 thematic scientific fields, and then we have a second layer. Second layer in which what we are talking is is how to provide an added value to whatever we are doing from science. I'm not going to be focused on the 6 points because I'm just going to have this, the science for practice, science for policy, and practice for policy approach, because the rest are not relevant for this event. But we are working a lot, again, for cooperation, development, and diplomacy. And some insights about what we are doing in the field of science for practice. And this is absolutely relevant if we want to understand the dynamics of the farming sector. We need to become an active member of that network. That means that we need to gain a deep understanding of the sector dynamics, the risks, the potentials, and the opportunities of the sector. And you can just achieve that if you are on the field. So all these pictures are pictures of the beta researchers that are working together with the farmers to understand all the needs and all the risks that they have on the field, to understand the daily and season operations and challenges that they have, that they are changing, so that if you want to involve them in your projects, you need to understand what are the limitations that they have and how they work, right? What are the market trends as well at mid and long term, to be engaged in their regional, national, and international networks, and to be active part of that actions that they're doing. What we are obtaining back, the first one is the most important, because we are ensuring a clear and compelling value proposition for farmers. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So with the vision that we have from our labs, or from our offices, or from the upper floor of the university, we have a good view, but we don't understand a lot what is happening on the floor. So we need to be there and understand. So then we can jointly build this value proposition. We need to involve them. You are able to engage them in your activities because they need to feel part of the solution if you would like to increase the adoption potential of whatever you are developing, right? What we are also doing is to identify why farmers or agri-food entities are not involved so much as much as we would like in research innovation projects, and they say, because I cannot deal with administrative or financial barriers. That doesn't mean I don't have resources. I don't understand anything. I don't have the financial control inside to do anything. So we are providing the support to overcome this barrier for them as well. So identify the challenges that they are finding to upscale all the innovations that we are doing. Well, all this stuff, I know, because you will have that, but it's mainly about building the right value proposition. This is the main issue. And this is one of the main take-home messages that I would like to give today. It's essential to clearly define what is the value proposition for all the actors that are going to be involved in the uptaking of this solution innovation. That means practitioners, advisors, policymakers, to consider also not just the innovation itself, but the logistics, the commercialization barriers, the market approach, the acceptance of the consumer. That means to have a complete view of the value chain in which you are aiming, your value chain and complementary value chains, because you have a lot of interactions also with other value chains. This is the challenge, and how to deal with that? Well, we need innovative tools and programs that are allowing scientists and practitioners to build this together. We don't have that. We have strong programs to develop fantastic research, joint research, but we don't have tools, spaces, or any kind of action that is related to tackle the previous steps, right? And we need, as I said before, incentives from the research point of view. These institutions should also be awarded or evaluated to assess, considering the impact that they have in different economic sectors in which they are working. This is something that we are some innovations that I would like to share with you. So we are advocating for pairing schemes within farmers and advisors and scientists, because this is the only way that we will understand one's or the other's work and day-to-day life, right? We are aiming, it's a wish to start this in 2026. As a center, we have also experience in pairing schemes since 2023, but these pairing schemes are mainly working between scientists and policymakers. And we have super satisfied with the results that we are obtaining. You can search in the webpage and find the similar engagement projects. Our pairing schemes, the first one funded by the GRC and the second is Erasmus+, but that are working absolutely fantastically. And we would like also to do the same, but with the farmers and advisors, because it's the only way that we can just have this deep understanding of the challenges that we have one and each other. And also some innovative initiatives that also we are working with the Catalan government in this case. We are now establishing a network of experimental fields and test sites to really support this knowledge exchange and understanding of the challenges of the farmers and the solutions that can be potentially be provided by the researchers. This is something that we are developing at Beta, the second one, with the support as well with the government. So we have been accumulating a lot of prototypes, pilot plans, and a lot of innovative equipment from different projects, operational groups, some of them, but Horizon projects or LIFE, etc. So we have a lot of innovative instruments that are not capitalized. So we are building this concept of open and shared research facilities in order to allow the small and medium farming companies to use this innovation, to test this innovation with a very low cost, but otherwise they are excluded from that, right? This is something that is very familiar for you as well, so the promotion of these living labs, etc. And also what we are doing is to identify these lighthouse initiatives that are succeeding, but we don't know the main reasons why they are succeeding, so we are studying these lighthouses in order to have enough technical information to promote the adoption and application of these success histories. But then, once you are doing that, then we are finding the regulatory and policy barriers that you are very familiar also with that one. That's why we also, the same work that we are doing with the private sector, we are doing the same with the public sector, because technology and innovation goes super fast, advances super fast, while regulatory and policies don't move, never, ever. So we need to, it's very difficult to work, so we have been more than 10 years to work, to have the renewed policy. I mean, it's difficult to understand, but we need to work on that challenge. So how we can provide evidence-based information to policymakers in order to allow them to modify or define the appropriate policies that are matching with the state of the art of the current technologies that are able to reach the market. This is the main objective. So that's why we need to work on the science for policy sphere as well. So, and this is something that was discussed this morning in the table that we have. We need a deep understanding of the policy making and decision process at EU level and national and regional. It's absolutely necessary to know that, otherwise you cannot deliver to the policymakers what they need. You need to develop a deep understanding of the policy framework, how this policy is being transposed at national and regional level as well, how you are able to translate the research and innovation results in a language that is understandable by the policymakers. This is a big deal. This is the big challenge that we are facing, and recognize and analyze the complexity of these processes. And because you have a lot of regulations that isolated can have a sense, but when you are working with different regulations and putting one lawyer on the other, it's impossible to do anything. So we have seen that with the Renew, that we have DG Agri, we have DG Environment, and we have DG Santé. And it was impossible. That's why it took a lot of time to find a solution. I mean, something that we need to overcome. And the other way, what we are able to provide. So we are able to provide a lot of evidence and informed policy papers, to have this dialogue with policymakers, to provide recommendations and solutions. We are not taking policy decisions, but we are delivering information that can be used for the policymakers to take these policy decisions. And so from the Beta Tech Center, we have been working on that since 2016, on this policy-oriented approach of the research that we are doing. And I have to say that we are super satisfied as well, because it's been successful if you are working with that field. And the last part I would like to share is, like, we are also always missing one part is how to bring all the knowledge that is in the practice side to the policymakers. There are a lot of knowledge. They know better than anyone a lot of things that are happening in the real world. So we need to find the tools also that the policymakers have access to this information, as we are doing from the scientific world, that we are trying to translate this information from the practice side should be also a good idea. And because they will find this common ground to find the common solutions, and they will not be confronted, they will be aligned. That's why we think also that the research institutions are the best to work as boundary organizations, to work as facilitators for this understanding, as an entity that we don't have any conflict of interest. We have no politicians, we don't have a business, so we are in that sphere in which we are advocating for a technical fair solution, and we can work. And this is something that in our experience is possible, and what we are trying to do, at least in the territorial framework where we have this possibility. And this is another idea that we would like to launch. That is something that we are working again with the Catalan government, and I'm finishing with that. To overcome many of the barriers that we face at policy level or regulatory level, we need innovative tools, because otherwise it took us a lot of time to change something that was really clear. I put the example of the Renew. But we can talk also about water reuse. There are many clear evidences from the scientific point of view that something can be changed, but then it took us a lot of time. So what we are doing is to propose regulatory sandboxes. You know what is a sandbox? It's a place where you can... Normally, the sandboxes are related to a specific regulation that you would like to tackle. So you have an exception for this regulation. So we are advocating for not one exception. So we want a territorial or thematic sandbox in which we don't know the regulations that we will face, but we will find in the process. So just let me do whatever is necessary in that place in order to demonstrate that it's possible to have enough evidence-based information to overcome these barriers. But most of the barriers have not been identified yet. So we need to identify the barriers in sandboxes. This is something that is quite advanced with the Catalan government, and we think that soon we could start working on that. But it's something that I would like to share with you, because it's a new approach that we are trying to put. And again, I have a lot of hope in the FP10, because as it's very much oriented to the impact under the European Competitiveness Compass and all this stuff that you know perfectly. So I have a lot of hope that all these considerations, if we would like really to have an impact, are considered also in the FP10, that as far as you know, some of them, of course, are considered. And I would like to finish acknowledging all the work that my team is doing, because I'm here talking today, but It's a strong work of 135 people behind me, and of course, whatever we are achieving is because of the group that we have. So, and that's all. If you have some questions, I'm going to be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Sergio. Time for questions. Does anyone has one question or two for Sergio? Don't be shy. Okay, so I will probably start here and then Silva.
Thank you for the presentation. Perhaps just a question about, you mentioned also possibilities to share facilities between the institutions. Do you have some case or how to approach to this?
Yeah, so this is what we are doing, because this is a real thing that we are doing. It's not operative at all, but we have an industrial plant ready, and what we are doing is to put there all the prototypes that we have been using in one farm or in one food industry. We are putting all this operative in one single place, so the small or medium farmers or industries can have access to that. And we are working on the governance level now, and to see what is the operational cost that they must cover, or how to cover this operational cost. But in order to, I have this effluent, and I would like to test if this advanced membrane system is useful for that. You don't have to invest 50,000 euros buying the model. You need to invest 500 euros in the operation. And this is how it will work. Now we are working on the governance level, because we want the private sector involved in the governance of these facilities, the research and the policy making. But it's something that has been submitted also for an instrument at regional level that is called the Regions of Knowledge of Catalonia. So it will most probably be developed under this concept, but this is still being put operative slowly, because we don't have the resources yet, but we have that. So I can share you some pictures or more information if you wish, because it's something tangible that already exists.
Yes, I have two questions. The first one is, I'm very convinced by what you presented, and it looks great. There is a lot of methodology behind it. I think a lot of soft skills actually to engage with policymakers, with farmers, with companies. Did you already reflect or even produce a kind of toolbox to engage with these different actors? I'm asking this because in several EU projects and also in UFRAS, we are reflecting a lot about methodologies and soft skills that are needed for that. So that was my first question. And the second question is it possible that sometimes there could be some kind of competition between researchers and advisors when both types of actors are playing the role of facilitators? How do you deal with that?
I'm starting by the second one. At least in our case, absolutely not. So just the opposite. So what we want to be is a useful tool for the advisors. So we are not competing from the business point of view, because as far as there is not a innovation or research component, our added value is not needed. So just the opposite, we are working with the network of advisors in order to see how we can also fit them with wherever innovation is being developed in order to be transferred for us. So we are aiming to have impact, and for us to have a multiplier agent that is the advisor, it's fantastic. So we are not trying to substitute the advisor, just the opposite is to use the advisor network or the advisor to multiply the impact that is our mission as a non-profit foundation, blah, blah, blah. So this is something that is super clear. So we are always trying not to cross the business line of, in this case, our advisor, but it's for the same for labs that are doing some kind of analysis or environmental consultancies. So we need to be a supportive actor for all of them. For the first question, we have not found any conflict of interest by now. So let's see in the future. But now we are trying. We have not. And for the soft skills, yes. So We have developed different toolkits and methodologies under different programs. So the one that has been lasting the most is the one that is funded by the Interreg Euromed that started in 2016. And there is a lot of information and toolkits and everything that is being focused on the capitalization of results of innovation projects funded by the Interreg program, but still can be used. And what is super important is to have a multidisciplinary team in our case. So we have people in the team that has studied politics, law, science, international relationships, and they are working together with the people that has been studying agronomy. So this is super important to have this kind of different mindset because they are the ones that can translate and can adapt the attitude and also the language to each scenario. And we have a lot of technical staff that before was working for farming cooperatives. So that is being used to be on the field with farmers, and they are also integrated in that discussions. I mean, we have this internal multi-actor approach as well in order to have the best understanding and the relationship with farmers or with different actors. But this is the key challenge. This is something that is very difficult to achieve. So you identify the real challenge. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, one more question in the front.
Thank you. I think, Sergio, what I want to do is to congratulate you really, because you have been a model for research with impacts and the connection with practitioners and with the market. And I think there's probably not many research institutes, I don't know the full world, but I'm sure there are not many in Europe able to do that. And I also take a big line out of what you were telling us, which aligns with what the former presentation was bringing, is this focus on the preparation, what happens before the project, which is so important. When we introduce it with the IP operational groups, the fact that you are able to pay for the preparations. In the beginning, there was little appetite for that because people saw it as lost money and why should we pay for preparation and give money for the project? Why should we do that? And we've seen that gradually growing because people experience that it's useful to prepare because, well, the minds are growing and I'm very happy now also for like the bigger projects in research that you're going also the same way and you have the same experience that it is important. And this is really quite new, I think, in the research world. So I hope you can spread this around because then we will have more impact from research.
Well, I think that this is the common objective. I mean, something structural needs to be changed in the research ecosystem of Europe in order to provide professional careers to researchers also considering the impact that they are having. Not the research impact, but impact on society or in transfer or in different economical sectors. And this is something that we need to advocate for that and to have a faster change than the one that is expected, because otherwise we are going to miss competitiveness and we are going to miss like, a lot of opportunities. And yeah, so the preparation of operational groups, it's fantastic. So we have a good experience for that. We also think that we need other tools from that because when you start the preparation, that means that you already have some kind of confidence or relationship. And sometimes if you have already a network, this is fantastic because at least you have the first step covered. But I think that we need to be also imaginative and innovative, also trying to develop new actions or programs or activities to make all the, because we have been doing a lot in the during, so you know better than me, but in the previous, there is a lack of proactive actions from the public administration. There's a lack. It can be, I think, lack, not complete lack, but there's a big potential to do much more, in my opinion. And not passive actions, proactive. I mean, something proactive. It's not a passive database with contacts. It's something else.
I have a quick question. I know we're under time pressure, but I also want to congratulate you on your presentation. I think it's really excellent and needed to be said. Just interested for those people who are engaged in the research, you know, what sort of KPIs do you have for researchers? Because traditionally you would have the number of papers that you produce, whereas you seem to have a very much a strong innovation culture there. I'm just interested to know how is success measured for researchers who are engaged in this type of work?
Yeah, so we have, so 10 years ago, when we started the activity in the center 10 years ago, we were 3 people. We are today 135 with 0 support from the public administration. So we have been growing because the impact that we have had, so what we have been able to deliver. And we decided to escape from the classic KPIs. So we are not assessing the impact of the researchers by the number of papers that you are delivering. Just the opposite. We want less papers with really concentrated high impact and with added value, that you can really have top papers. But then we are measuring the impact that we have in the transference of knowledge, the number of contracts with companies. And the most important is how many companies, farmers, or public administrations are repeating with us, are happy with us, and we have the second contract with them, not the first one. The first one is easy. So there's some kind of indicators that can be identified with the quality of what you are transferring or delivering to different stakeholders. The same is happening at policy level. So are policymakers happy with us? Well, if they are repeating the collaboration with us and they are asking more technical reports, more policy-oriented papers, all this stuff, for us this is the key issue. I mean, we started from is what I said. What is the value proposition that we are doing for the center? So we are starting from that point. And our value proposition is clear, it's oriented to impact, so then we are assessing a qualitative, it's more qualitative rather than quantitative, but we know what we are assessing. Thank you.